So continuing with the book Genesis, Creation, and Early Man, I figured that I'd read a section about what St. Paisios had to write about the creation versus evolution debate. So St. Paisios had this to say: "The nonsense we hear in school these days about Darwin's theory and the rest, even the teachers themselves do not believe what they are teaching, but they go ahead because they want to pollute the minds of the youth and take them away from the church. This is what someone told me. Let's say that the soil contained various substances and microorganisms, and God took these and created man. You mean, I replied, that if those elements did not exist in the soil, God would not have been able to create man? Would have been really difficult for him. Well, let's say," he continued, "that he took some things from the monkey and perfected them. Couldn't that be how it happened?" "Are you trying to say," I answered, "that God cannot create a perfect creature, that he cannot create a human being even after dedicating a whole day to that? What should he have done? Go get spare parts? Why don't you read the prophecy of Job from the scriptures, reading of Holy Thursday?" And the note on that's Job 38:14. "Or didst thou take clay from the ground and form a living being and set it with the power of speech upon the earth?" Now, scientists do not accept all of their own claims about our kinship with monkeys. How long has it been since man went to the moon? In all these years, have monkeys evolved enough to build a bicycle or at least a skateboard? Have you ever seen a monkey on a skateboard? Of course you can teach him to do that, but that's not the same thing. But the man would not give up. He insisted, "Let's assume this, or let's say that." "Well, let's just say that you will not say a thing," I finally told him. "That way you'll find the certainty you want." St. Paisios is also quoted saying, "The theory of evolution was being taught by a professor I knew at the university. Once I said to him, 'In time, with the proper care, a green bean plant will become a better green bean plant, the eggplant a better eggplant. If you feed and take care of a monkey, he will become a better monkey, but he will not turn into a human being.' And then there's this to think about. Christ was born of a human being, the Panagia. Are we supposed to believe that his ancestors were monkeys? What blasphemy! And those who support this theory don't realize that they are blaspheming. They throw a stone and do not check to see how many heads they have cracked. All you hear from them is, 'Mine went further than the other fellow.' That's what they are all about these days. They marvel at who will throw a stone the furthest, but they care nothing about those who are passing by and the many heads their stones will crack." St. Paisios was also asked, "Gronda, some people think that these theories will help bring Marxists to church. Some people think these theories will help bring Marxists to church." He replied, "Well, perhaps a few Marxists might come to church at first, but then they will want to organize a party and start giving orders to others. Now you must go to church, now you may not. Now do this, now do that. They will have rules for everything, and in the end, they will start telling people, 'Who told you that there is a God? There is no God. The priests are making up to deceive you.' This is what will happen. The Marxists will use these good-willed folks to achieve their goals. Marxists with a good will and disposition will come back to the church, repent, and go to confession. But those who have no good disposition, they will never change." So at another time, the saint was asked, "Gronda, some devout young men are troubled while serving their military duty by those who are abusive and curse. What should they do?" To which he replied, "This requires discernment and patience. God will help. The wireless operator that I worked with in the army was a blasphemous, unbelieving doctor. Every day he would come to the administrative unit to brainwash me with his ideas. He talked to me about Darwin's theory of evolution and other such things entirely blasphemous." One of the most fascinating quotes from St. Paisios is his recollection of what it was like as a child being introduced to the theory of evolution. "When I was a young boy in Konitsa, I read about the lives of many saints, and sometimes I gave the books to the other boys to read, or I would gather them in one place and we would read them together. I marveled at the great degree of asceticism and the fasting that the saints practiced and tried to do the same. From fasting, my neck had become as thin as a cherry stem. The children teased me. "Your head will fall off," they would say to me, what I had to put up with. Well, never mind. In addition, because I often got sick from fasting, my older brother was afraid that I would not be able to finish school, so he would take and hide my little pamphlets with the lives of the saints. After that, I started hiding them in the forest at the country chapel of St. Barbara and would go there secretly to read them. One day a neighbor named Costas said to my brother, "I'll make him change his way of thinking, throw away those books he is reading, and give up his fasting and prayer." He found me. I was about 15 years old then, and he started talking to me about Darwin's theory. He started talking and went on and was making my head spin. In my haze, I headed for the forest to the chapel of St. Barbara. I went in and began praying to Christ. "My Christ, if you exist, reveal yourself to me in some way," I kept saying, while constantly doing prostrations for a long time. It was summer. The sweat was running down my body, and I was drenched and completely exhausted. But I didn't hear or see anything, nor did God help me in any way, with even a small sign, some sound, some shadow. I was only a child, after all. Even if one were to look at this from a human and logical perspective, one could say, "My God, what a shame for the poor child. From 11 years old, he has been going up to the hills to live ascetically, and now he is going through a crisis. That man made his head spin with some foolish theories. At home he has difficulties with his brother. He ran to the forest to seek help from you, and yet nothing. Exhausted from many prostrations, I sat down for a while. Then I thought, all right, when I asked Costas what he thought about Christ, what did he tell me? He told me that Christ was the best, the most righteous man, who proclaimed righteousness, and had so offended the Pharisees that they crucified him out of envy. Then I said, if Christ was such a good man, so righteous, and no other man had ever appeared like him, and others killed him out of envy, then it is right for me to do for this man far more than I have done, even to die for him. As soon as I looked at it this way, Christ appeared to me in a great light. The chapel was full of light, and told me, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he die, he shall live. These same words I could also read in the open gospel, which he held on one hand. There was such an inner transformation in me that I found myself saying constantly, come here now, Costa, to discuss if there is or there isn't a God. You see, for Christ to appear, he waited for my philotomo-filled response. Now, if Christ requires such a response from even a young child, can you imagine how much more he would expect from a mature adult? It was interesting to see that as a child he went through a crisis of faith because of Darwinian evolution. And myself, I actually didn't become a Christian until after I had heard arguments against Darwinian evolution from people who believed in creation science.